Hello and welcome to week 4. This is an interesting week, and I think it all centers around really looking after your client and really listening to your client. What the terms that we use in therapy are using your third eye and your third ear. So essentially listening to your gut, listening to your intuition, and not just to what the client is saying. So let me quickly go over the exercises this week, the assignments this week. We have 2 discussions. First is the one about a case study, so you're going to be posting that. And then the discussion is about the technique demonstration. So people who have chosen to week 4 as their week for technique demonstrations are going to post them, and then you are going to follow up with a discussion on what you see. And then it's also the triad dyad check-in, in which you are required to post a summary of your discussion and decision, including which therapy each group member has chosen. Okay, so this is the check-in. So end of the week, one member of each group is going to post the population that you've chosen, a summary of your discussion and decision, and which therapy each group member has chosen. Okay. Then you have the journal. So this looks like a busy week. You do have your week 4 journal. You've submitted it once before, so you know what to do. And then you have to submit the journal here in the major projects and assignments section. Okay. And then the therapy presentation type of therapy article has to be uploaded. So you have now chosen the type of trauma, which could be combat, domestic violence, issues in school, etc. So that's the type of trauma. You have also chosen the population, and now you're going to choose articles that will tell us what kind of therapy is suitable for this population. So if it's a child that you're talking about, what would you do for them? If it's a parent, if it's an adult, male, female, race, whatever is significant to you, how are you going to treat it? Okay. Then there's a mid-semester evaluation. I clearly am not eligible to take this questionnaire, but you are, so please give us your feedback about how this is going for you so far. And let me go back to week 4, and we can look at the readings for this week. So this is the treatment of trauma. Now, in the previous 3 weeks, we have understood what impact trauma has on our mind and our body, and now we're entering into how do you treat it. So I think that this week's readings and cases are very, very interesting. So let's look at the case first. It is about a young boy who continuously denies that he is engaging in the behaviors that his mother is accusing him of. And the therapist listens to his or her gut and figures out that the boy is telling the truth. Okay, so it kind of aligns with the theme of this week, that sometimes we have to rely on our powers of observation and look at the client and listen to what's not being said, and use our knowledge about their development, use our knowledge about mirror neurons, use our knowledge about, what is the symptoms of trauma, and then come to a conclusion that we can present to the client. This week, let me go into the readings. So we're going to look at sensitivity and awareness of the ways in which clients internalize and experience their trauma responses. So what this means is we're going to meet our clients in a very non-judgmental space and understand that their behaviors are not just attention-getting behaviors, but they are actually coping skills to deal with the intense pain that they're going through. So you may get clients who are abusing substances, who are cutting, or engaging in other self-harming behaviors. And instead of focusing on the behaviors, we can go a little deeper and say, I know this hurts. What can we do to help? And not placing any kind of judgment on them, not re-traumatizing them when they come to us for help. So here's the other thing that we're going to do. The risk that many people feel when they go into therapy and face their traumas all over again. So is it really wise to push your client to tell the story? At what point do you suggest that, hey, why don't you tell me what happened? What do you have to do before that in preparation for the client to tell his story? Increase your repertoire of soothing and supportive techniques, and demonstrate techniques geared to increase affect regulation, emotional regulation, trust, relaxation, etc. So the readings are, I already talked about the case, which is chapter 9. Just a reminder, please reference your the chapter that you're working on when you're writing the citations. Okay. Rothschild, The Body Remembers, chapter 5 is very interesting. She makes a couple of good points as to what should be done during trauma treatment. Some of the more prominent ones being never pressure the client, and create oases, which means like literally an oasis in the desert, which is a spot where you can relax, renew, refresh, drink some water, and then continue on your journey. So trauma treatment really needs those kinds of oases throughout, and it's our job as therapists to do that. Trauma treatment cannot always be go, dig deeper, talk about your trauma, because that can be exhausting and detrimental to the client. So a lot of the treatment actually is about soothing. It's about reducing reactivity and giving the client what is known as brakes as well as the accelerator. In other words, you give the client control. And this is really the core of all treatment. So instead of trying to remove the symptoms, you can just say, when you start to feel this, this, and this is how you can ground. That's an example of break. And the client decides how far they want to go, how deep they want to go, what they want to talk about. So the trauma treatment is essentially client-led. What we do as therapists is provide containment, provide safety, provide support, provide more coping techniques, and provide a non-judgmental space for talking about the trauma. So Van der Kolk, this time, again, it is a wonderful, wonderful book. I love it, but I want to give you a heads up that maybe some of the things he has described could be slightly graphic for some of you. So if there is an issue with this, please let me know. Okay? And this is an excellent PowerPoint by Dr. Barb Gillen. I'm not going to go over the entire PowerPoint. Just a few slides to kind of tie in with what I've been telling you so far here. Let me see. These are really good techniques for your technique demonstrations, so keep these in mind when you're creating your demonstrations. The goal is to reconnect the person to the present, and in order to do this, we orient the client to the 4 W's. Who are you? Where are you? What time is it? What place is it? And what are you feeling right now? So you can often guide the person back to the present with your voice. Then this is the flashback halting protocol, also a good example of applying the brakes. And you separate or teach the client how to separate the past, where the trauma has happened, from the present. So right now I'm feeling blank and I'm sensing in my body because I'm remembering the past trauma. Name trauma by title only. no details, because you do not want the client to re-experience it. At the same time, I'm looking around where I am, name the year, the place, I can see, so what do you see around you? All these are ways of telling the client you're in the present, the danger is over. So it kind of stops them from reliving that moment. So this is also, these are good instructions on how to walk someone out of a flashback. This is really interesting, managing self-injury and self-harming behaviors and looking at them as life-preserving coping mechanisms. They're alive today because they use this to cope with the intense emotions that the trauma brings up. So right off the bat, do not criticize any behavior, even though it is self-harming. But what you can do is ask them, you know, what benefit is there in cutting or in drinking? And you might get answers such as, it numbs my pain, stops me from feeling, to let something bad out, to remember trauma without consciously knowing it. So some people may just be reenacting what was done to them without understanding why. Okay, expression of anger or communicating something. So once you understand the need, you can create an alternative way to express it. So if my need is to really express anger and I'm doing it through destruction of property, you could say, I completely understand where you're coming from. How about we write some really angry letters? So then you're addressing the client's need without judging them and without saying, you know, stop destroying property, etc. So here is discover how the behavior is helpful, what self-capacity skills are needed for development, and then plan the intervention. So the assessment is where you find out why they're indulging in this behavior, and then what you're going to do about it. How are you going to replace that behavior? So then understanding the suicidal client, this is pretty straightforward. Okay, so this is the presentation that I think is really, really helpful. And so is this one. It's an article by Beth Burrell, and it talks about trauma in a population that is unable to really talk about it or discuss it, and trauma may be hidden here. So what do you have to do? You know, how are you going to treat someone with an intellectual or developmental disability, okay, when they're not able to engage, say, in talk therapy? So again, an excellent article. Please do read it. And as usual, I'm available to answer any questions or difficulties that you may have. So I'll see you next week.